Hello and welcome to another Overpaid Over the Bar video with me, Anthony, looking back at the quarterfinals of the World Cup that have just finished and ahead to the semi-finals, which begin this evening with France playing Spain. 4 Juillet is celebrated in France, the 14th of July. It's going to be a very special one tonight because they're playing Spain, and that's going to be a big game. And then the following night, arguably an even bigger game if you're English or Argentinian. Certainly it is. England play Argentina in a game that has so many things to analyze about it, which I'll talk about. I'm also going to be looking at the Fantasy World Cup game coming into the last two rounds. I'm top 37K. I'm 37 something K. So I'm trying to possibly finish with a top 10K rank. I don't know if I can, but I'll be looking at how I might try and do that. Um, but first of all, let's look back at the quarterfinals that have that finished last week. Now, France, Spain, England, and Argentina were separated by the new seeding system that FIFA has in the with the idea that they might play each other in the semi-finals, and that's exactly what has happened. So all the favourites came through in the quarterfinals. The only one that did it with ease was France, and Morocco barely laid a glove on France in this game. I thought Morocco played quite well to hold off France, and then maybe they were going to try and nick it second half, but France's quality was just too much for them. Morocco looked weak in this game. Very much surprising that they did, but they did. Then Spain beat Belgium. Belgium scored the first goal Spain have conceded in the World Cup, and actually pretty decent in this game for a while. But it was that man, Mikel Merino, who came through again towards the end. I mean, Spain do have some players coming off the bench that will help them against France, although France can say exactly the same thing. But we'll look at that game in a bit. England beat Norway. Now, this was not a great performance by England. Jude Bellingham is looking like one hell of a player. I mean, he has done for a while, but he's really stepping up in this tournament. I want to talk about that, especially before when we look at the Argentina game. But in this game, Norway had some complaints, especially about for the England equaliser with the ball hitting the wire. I'm really not sure if it was my team how much I'd be gutted about that in terms of it not even being. I mean, I suppose it did help because the defense wasn't prepared for that attack, and it fell very kindly to Elliot Anderson who fed Gordon, but it was incredibly slick that whole goal. I mean, Anderson to Gordon, one touch. Gordon then crosses along the floor to Bellingham, who's impeccable touches with supposedly his weaker foot. One, two, three into the far corner. Absolutely amazing goal. And then England looked very shaky for a while in the second half. I mean, I would say the last 20 minutes, I was expecting England to go out of out of the World Cup. I thought we Norway looked like they were better in defence, and England just looked all over the place sometimes. And I was thinking, even if this goes to penalties, I don't fancy England. But of course, they found a way, and Tuchel seems to have really he's found a mentality. We talked about this after the game. The mentality of the players was excellent in this game again. He was quite right in his interview when he said that the technical level of the players in this game was not good, and some of the decision making was really not good at all by lots of players. But I would single out Elliot Anderson as a standout performer in this game. It was absolutely superb. This player nobody's talking about him, mainly because he's playing alongside Rice, who's the big star. But for me, he has been after Bellingham, our best player in the tournament. Well, perhaps Harry Kane, obviously, because he's scored those important goals. But definitely in the top three of our best players in this tournament, and I was really happy with that. I would think Argentina would have been looking at England's performance, their fans thinking, well, we can beat these. But then if you look at Argentina's performance against Switzerland, England might be thinking exactly the same because Switzerland had a chance here. And until they had the red card, which was for uh, their star player, I forget his name, Pampa. Sorry, I forgot his name. But that and again, people are complaining about the VAR again, but this is a great decision by VAR. It's exactly what you want for them to step in when a player dives like that and the referee doesn't see it. They must step in those situations. Absolutely zero contact. He goes down. Stupid decision by the player. And he's played well in the World Cup, and he's gone home in a over with a cloud hanging over him, which is really sad for Switzerland and him. But ultimately, Argentina, in the end, won because of that decision, and they looked very shaky in this game, just like England did against Norway. So, oh, by the way, Julian Alvarez is an outstanding footballer who really hasn't played much in this tournament for Argentina. And we're now seeing him coming back. And this is a very bad omen for England that he's coming back into the reckoning for Argentina. So Argentina now have two-star players just like England going forward. Right. Let's just look at how I did in the fantasy round. Now, I did pretty well here. I got 88 points. I played the chip, which is the clean sheet shield, which meant that I had three players conceding a goal, but got a clean sheet, got points for a clean sheet. So Emi Martinez, Cucurella, and Cubarsí got nice returns, despite the fact they all conceded. So I used that chip well. My transfers weren't great, however. I brought in Declan Rice. I bought in oh no, I bought in Due, who scored, yeah, and Elise, I think I bought him in as well. Right, and of course Bellingham returned. I kept the captaincy on Mbappe. I didn't move the captaincy once Mbappe had scored. But looking forward to the semi-final. I haven't finished transfers yet for this semi-final. It's really difficult to know who to get in because these games, I think both of these games are 50-50. I don't care what anyone says. Looking now at the semi-finals, I think both of these games are absolutely 50-50. Now, France are strong favourites with the bookies to win against Spain and favourites to win the tournament. I'm not disagreeing with that. They're definitely the best team going forward so far. Except that who is the one team from this four that have played a top 10 ranked international team in this tournament and beaten them so far in this tournament? It's Spain, who beat Portugal. Now, it wasn't a great game, but Spain controlled that game. They made sure they won it. France's opposition so far have not, I mean, look, they've got a fantastic attack, France, but their midfield has not really been tested, and that's their potential weakness. I mean, it hasn't been shown so far, to be honest, because Rabiot and Chouameni, and then later, um, who's taken over from Chouameni in midfield. I forget his name, sorry, but they played really well so far in the tournament. Kone, that's it. Excuse me. So Kone and Cabio look like the central midfield players to play this game. Now, that is potentially their weakness against Spain. Spain love to pass and they love to control the game in midfield. Now, don't be surprised if France don't get the service to the forwards that they have enjoyed, and don't be surprised if this game isn't great. Because I really think it could be a. I mean, saying that these teams have met a lot in recent years, and Spain have come out on top most of the time. Um, and I think the last time they met it was 5-4 or something like that, some crazy result. But that was a Nations League game, I think. So don't expect France to just walk all over them just because. But however, France do look like a different beast going forward than they have in recent years. They really have made it work in an attacking sense in this tournament. And Mbappe has looked absolutely outstanding. He's still the player of the tournament for me. Obviously, Messi and Bellingham might have something to say about that going forward, but Mbappe for me is the outstanding player of this World Cup. And I suppose if you force me into saying I have to choose one, I would choose France. But don't believe that this is a foregone conclusion that France will win this game because I really don't think it is. Right. Then on to the one that for me is an incredible matchup. I'm old enough to remember the Maradona handball. I was a college student when the Falklands War was on in 1982. Um, and that was the backdrop to the meeting in the 1986 World Cup. And of course, there is also history with the 1966 World Cup when the Argentinian tactics were very much criticized by English fans and even the manager who referred to Argentina as animals. And I think the animosity, the football animosity between the two countries started then and hasn't let up to this day. Now, you may think that, well, England don't hate Argentina as much as we used to. And I think that's true. I think a lot of young English people have grown up admiring Lionel Messi and the Argentinian football team. But if you think it's true the other way around, that the animosity has lightened, you would be completely wrong. Argentinian commentators are saying that this is as much a final for Argentina as a final would be. They cannot afford to lose to England. If they were playing France in the semi final and they lost to a much better team, as they would perceive it in France, it would not be as big a deal as losing to England. It would be nowhere near it. If Argentina go out to England, there will be a lot of hate, a lot of uh, finger pointing. There'll be a lot of um, stuff going on from their end. So the pressure on Argentina to win this game is strong. It's a different type of pressure for England, who in Argentina are labeled as bottle jobs. They think I've just been watching an excellent podcast uh, an Irishman living in Argentina was talking about how Argentinians regard England and the English football team a bit like Arsenal have been regarded in recent seasons, where they just freeze when it comes to the big games, and that's how they perceive us. Apart from the political animosity, which I mean, English people may not see understand this, but imagine Argentina owned a bunch of islands off the coast of the UK. How would English people perceive that? You know, whatever the islanders of the people who lived on that island thought. So there are two ways to look at the Falklands or Las Malvinas, and I'm not going to say that I think England should have a right to those islands, and I'm not going to say that they should give them up either. I'm just saying that you can understand Argentinian fans uh, having those having those opinions. Now, as far as the football goes, that's another story. So let's look at the two teams. We mentioned that Julian Alvarez is coming back, firing on form for the Argentinians. This could mean that they set up a bit differently in this game than they have in previous games, where they're more stacked towards his talents going forward than they have been previously. Um, England have Jude Bellingham on fire. And I think one of the reasons for that is because a lot of attention has been paid to Harry Kane by opposing teams. And Jude Bellingham's had those spaces to run into. Now, Argentina will pay a lot of attention to Jude Bellingham. So I think what will decide this game, honestly, for me, is how well England's flank players play. If Anthony Gordon and presumably Bukayo Saka starts this game, if they play well, they could give the Argentinian fullbacks a problem. And if they get to the byline, if they lose their man, because we saw in the last game, every time Gordon or Saka lost their fullback, the defense is in panic. Suddenly, everything has to be rearranged. Another player has to go towards the winger, and then you're opening up the defense where you've got Bellingham and Kane running into the middle. And I do think there's a real chance if England's wingers play well in this game, we can win this game because Argentina have not really faced anyone that good in this tournament up until now. But the same could be said of England. Norway were not as stiff on opposition as Argentina will be. I think this is a 50-50, completely a 50-50. And a lot will depend on the day of how England and Argentina players manage their mentality as much as anything else. Because there will be needle in this game. There is bound to be needle in this game. You've got players on this pitch who will definitely try and bring that in. And England players need to stand up to anything that comes from Argentina. It won't be anything like previous meetings. I remember the 2002 game where on the field you could tell all the way through the game there were words between players, there were little incidents off the ball. Thankfully, with VAR these days, I mean, I say thankfully with VAR, this is one thing where VAR should be thanked, is that you cannot get away with stuff off the ball these days. So, but I still think there will be plenty of little tussles, and people, will, especially Bellingham, will be targeted, in my opinion, for this. They will try and wind up Jude Bellingham. That's my opinion. Um, However, Argentina have enough to win the game without doing any of that. So I'm not saying that's the only way they can win. But for me, England can win this game. And actually, like a lot of English people, I think we will win this game. But it's just down to whether you turn up or not on the night. And who knows what happens here. Right. This is my team as it stands for the semi-final, but I have three free transfers left. So I'm going to look at the team lineups tonight, France, Spain, and choose another Spanish player in the event that they win this game. Oh, by the way, don't worry about teams going out of the competition because the third place playoff will be included in the um, fantasy World Cup. So you don't lose if a player goes out in the semi-final, you don't lose them. They can play again in the next round because all the four teams in the final will be um, will be available, the third place playoff and the final. So there's an argument in this round for playing the maximum captain, which I might well do. I'm not really sure. I might use it in the final actually and concentrate on the teams in the final for my team in the final because the problem with the third place playoff is that teams will be switched completely. They will use reserve players in the third place playoff. So a lot of the players you already have might have to be changed anyway. So I think it might be a good idea to concentrate on the final. Although, of course, the third place playoff comes first, and you will see the team lineups before the deadline. So there will be a lot of points to be made on that last round if you're clever with the third place playoff. I have Messi, Kane, and Mbappe up front. I'm not going to change that. I have Elise, Doué, and Bellingham in midfield. I'm not going to change that. Outside of that, I think I probably will transfer out Declan Rice, who I brought in the last game, because we don't even know if he's going to play at the moment, and possibly Bayana as well, but I don't know who to get in instead. I've got Simon in and Martinez. Different. You need one keeper from one game and one from the other because you can swap them. And apart from that, not much to say. I don't think there's much chance of reaching top 10K, but I'm very happy with my 37K rank out of 2 million plus players. Um, and hopefully I can keep in the top 50K. I'm sure I will for the last two rounds of the tournament. The mini league is not, I'm not that certain to win it at the minute. Um, yeah, it looks like Gonzalo here. He's on 89K. It looks like he could give me a challenge for that mini league. He's only 21 points behind me. It's a really good performance. So, and Keith's doing well here in third place on 440. Right. So, I just want to say that football is just football. I've talked about all these issues around the England Argentina game. It's a shame that stuff like that comes into football. It will do. And it's a shame that the emotions may get a bit carried away from either Argentina or England. If England win this or win the World Cup, we will see massive celebrations, but we might also see the ugly side of English fans as well. And that's a sad thing for me. So I just want to remind everybody that football is just football, and that's why I love it, 'cause it's only football. Has no more significance than that. It's just a game, and you win it and you lose it. And I support Exeter City, so I lose a lot of games, and I support England, so I don't remember winning a World Cup or a European Championship, but I still love it. Um, and thank you for watching. If you've watched this far, please give the stream a like. Have a great day. Take care.